This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hi Gemini, the football transfer window's open. How are my team's stats looking?
Well, your team definitely has a lot of star power.
Do you think we're going to have a good season?
It's going to come down to consistency and a little bit of luck on your side.
I'll let you know if we win.
I'll be keeping an eye on the scores.
Yeah, me too.
Now we're talking. Transfer to Google Pixel 9 with Gemini Live today. Sequences shortened. Gemini Live available for ages 18+. Internet required. Results are illustrative. Check responses for accuracy. Feature and account compatibility limitations apply.
Yo, UK! At BetMGM, we give our players sports betting entertainment like nobody's business. Football, horse racing, darts, boxing, tennis, golf, NFL, NBA. You name it, we got it. Offers? You know it. Bet £10 and get £40 in free bets. BetMGM, it's showtime.
New customers only. Exclusions apply. 18+. Please gamble responsibly.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hi, welcome to another edition of the Away End on what is going to be a very, very strange week for football. Joined today by Tim Edwards from the Fearless in Devotion podcast, who we spoke to earlier on in the season when it was the battle of the celebrities at St Andrews at Knighthead Park. And now we prepare for the reverse fixture at Wrexham on, yes, I'm going to say it, Thursday evening. Not since Birmingham have played in the Europa League have I known football to be played on a Thursday, but this week is extra special. For us, a first. However, Tim, for Wrexham, not a first, as you played last Thursday as well. So a bit strange, I suppose, is the way to start things off. Thank you again for joining us. But right. I mean, tell us about this Thursday business, because I know it's on Sky Television, and I know that this is prime for broadcast across the whole of America. In fact, I believe that this will be the first time that the EFL has actually been broadcast on the super screens in America with the...
No, it's not the first time.
Okay.
We've had it previously. I can't remember which match it was now. It was a home game against somebody just before Christmas. I think it was end of November. So they had it broadcast on this COSM. It's called COSM. Screen. So, yeah, in LA and San Diego. So that was the first one. And I think then Blues put something about this is going to be the first time. And I'm sure the admin was just shithousing us. It's like, you know full well it wasn't the first time.
It's a first for us. There we go. We'll go with that one. It's the first for us. So, yeah, I mean, Thursday evening football, I mean, first of all, very, very, very strange. You know, I suppose the good thing is we go into it and then a little bit more of a break in comparison to the other teams that we will be playing. So Birmingham, off the back of this, we'll have a couple of days extra rest before we go on to play Huddersfield next week. But tell us a little bit about... you know, what a Thursday evening was like. I know you were playing at Shrewsbury in the last game, but is it just weird as a fan to think, oh God, Thursday night, and then I've got to get up for work the following morning. What am I going to do?
Yeah, it felt more strange for us because we just come off the back of a free weekend. Because obviously, I think Reading were involved in the FA Cup, so we had a free weekend, and then. Yeah, so the Thursday came around, we thought, oh, the lads are going to be fresh and all that. And it's one of those, isn't it? It's annoying, but, you know, games dictate what happens where and at what time these days. It could have been a lot worse, I guess. You know, Shrewsbury's not a million miles away for us, just like Birmingham's not really a million miles away for you guys this Thursday. You know, if it was like Exeter away on a Thursday night, then you're thinking, what is that about? You know, that's just that's why I was so happy for those Bournemouth fans who beat Newcastle at the weekend. That is a mental, crazy overnight through the night trip. You know, so
indeed,
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure it was a great result for them. I'm sure they would have just had it, would have liked it a normal kickoff. Even 7:45 makes all the difference. I didn't think I would be getting in from a Shrewsbury away game at just before midnight in midweek. I mean, by the time we kept the buses behind, this sort of festoons of added time these days. By the time you get back, and in our instance, we had a comfort food break at Mackey's before getting a taxi home. So yeah, it was. I don't know. You know what? I'll be honest. I do sometimes like a kind of weekend breather because the festive period's so relentless. Like you're at games all the time. You know, you're spending time with family and friends. You're in the pub. You're going to a second or third Christmas dinner. You're going to the football, and it's rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And some people love that. I don't, and I do, and I don't. But sometimes the sort of festive season is for time to relax and wind down. And sometimes you come out of it like a spring coil, just like, oh shit, there's so much football as well. And so sometimes I'll be honest. Sometimes I enjoy a football-free weekend. But that said, the Friday after, especially following a defeat, you're just like, I've got to get through this day. And I've got to figure out what I'm doing at the weekend because there's no football on. So, it's a weird one, but I genuinely just hope it's one of those things that's there now and again and doesn't become a permanent fixture, because if it does, then you have to look at the geography as opposed to the occasion. Whereas this Thursday, we're kind of getting both, I guess. And it was the same last week with it being a derby and so on. So, we can complain about everything, and but ultimately we're getting money from the broadcasters. We're especially from this game, there's going to be all eyes, or a lot more eyes on it than perhaps previously.
Indeed.
The BBC and all the other media outlets are billing it as the EFL game of the season, which is obviously a lot of the fan bases will look at that and go, I don't think so. I'm not so sure.
This is the thing. I mean, we're going into Thursday's game. Firstly, Birmingham off the back of a incredibly hard fought 1-0. And it not hard fought because the team, i.e. Exeter, were coming at us and attacking us. It was actually the other way around. They formed a barrier. They formed a wall.
I watched it.
And it was like trying to get over that wall was ridiculous. And to have, I can't say I've ever been to St Andrews where the opposition, number one, has not had a shot on target, but has also not even been in the box and touched the ball.
Yeah,
that's just incredible. But I think is typical at the moment of some of the things that we will see, especially as we get more and more home games coming up across the next month. And obviously yourselves, you're looking to bounce back after that defeat against Shrewsbury, which I think was a shock to most people. I think Shrewsbury, they're looking at a team and they're thinking, God, they're going, they've gone already in some circumstances. But no, it's we experienced it as well. It's a team where Ainsworth can set them up and they will battle for their lives. Yeah. They will scrap. They will put their foot in and they will just make sure they make it very hard for the opposition. And hey, I don't think there was no, better way to see that than there was towards the end of the game, where the defender, I think, completely took out McLean. And it was a perfect tackle of old school football. It was
such a good tackle that the referee forgot it was a corner.
Exactly.
Hang on a minute, that's surely a corner, and it would have been typical Wrexham to score from a corner late at the depth. But yeah, it's that bloke hasn't won much else, but he's won a tackle. Oh, nice.
Exactly. And I think the reaction of the fans was as though they'd won the league, let alone anything else. So it kind of shows what is typical of football at the moment. That's what fans look for. That hard and never say die attitude that ultimately got Shrewsbury over the line. But we also go back, and how can we forget that evening at St Andrews at Knighthead Park, to have the billing as it was of the night of the fight of the celebrities. It was, yes, absolutely fantastic and not been, to the point of being repeats at all at the moment. To get up there and then not be able to enter the car park because of security, to then get into the fan park and be patted down not once or twice, but 3 times before I got inside the ground. And then to see the faces that we had down there was just incredible. And no doubt there will be something similar on Thursday evening. We might not get the Beckhams, but I am definitely hoping to see this time around Ryan Reynolds, because we didn't see him last time. We all laughed and joked about it, but he bottled it. Yeah. So Rob came instead. But no, I mean, tell us a little bit about the difference between that side that we saw on that particular evening, where Wrexham took the lead. Birmingham obviously came back, won the game 3-1. But what's the difference between that Wrexham side of that evening and where you are now that you've got through half a season?
I mean, even though we'd started well up until that point, I think it was the first defeat, if I remember rightly. We're still a little bit wet behind the ears in this division. It's the first time we've been back in League One for 20 years or something, 20, 21 years. So it's always going to take a little bit of an adjustment. And like anything, when you get your ass handed to you on a sort of grand occasion, then you always kind of learn from those mistakes. And that's what I'm hoping that they're going to do this Thursday in comparison to last Thursday. So I think they're a little bit more battle hardened now. They're a little bit more savvy game management wise, because there's a couple of occasions where they could have done a lot better, especially Charlton. Should have just saw the win out, and then we go and lose the ball at the death, and it's 2-2. So I think we're a little bit more streetwise than perhaps what we'd wear. And in a weird way, I mean, it's difficult to call, but I think they're probably a little bit more in tune with their environments now, especially away from home. Like, we're going to bigger and better stadiums. We're going to places that are quite tight and narrow to the pitch. We're going to places that are fuller. Not just so it's great to have our matches sold out, but when you go into the likes of Crewe or whatever, when there's a few thousand people there, it's still not quite the same. So I think it's taken a bit of time to adjust to as a collective, because some of these players have played at a higher level, obviously, but in terms of the squad that they've got, there's some players there. I think there's 6 or 7 that are still in our side that were in the National League side that won that league. So some of those players wouldn't have played at this level, and so certainly they wouldn't have played at some of the stages that we're going to. So I think that's probably helped getting used to those environments, doing it the right way, preparing right, overnight stops, etc., etc., etc. So I think it's similar to how we did with League Two. We got like a rude awakening early doors, lost 5-3 to Milton Keynes Dons opening game of the season. And then you just adjust and go, right, well, that was the wake-up call. What do we need to do to go forward? How can we look at ways to kind of adjust and really earn our place at this table, So we did that. And amazingly, we managed to get promoted at the first attempt there. And that momentum's carried us on. The core of the group is the same. We've added to the group smartly in some areas, not so smartly in others, has got to be said. But yeah, I think that's the key element to it, is that some parts have changed, but most of it has stayed the same. Like, the message has stayed the same. I still do think we need to be a little bit more adventurous away from home and not make life difficult for ourselves, which is what we do. We made life difficult for ourselves at Shrewsbury, made life difficult for ourselves at Barnsley, and then the second half at Barnsley was the best away half we've had in a long time, certainly this season.
It's weird. Barnsley seems to pull the best out of both teams, because I can honestly say, going there ourselves, it was the second half where Birmingham came into their own as well at that stadium, and I'll never forget that. I was there myself, and the weather was atrocious, so made for a great game.
It's always cold. It's a pain in the ass to get in and out of. All those Yorkshire towns like Sheffield, Barnsley, there's like one road in and out.
That's it. Yeah, it took us longer, I think, to come out on the coach that we were on, to get away from the stadium to get to the motorway than it did for probably half of the journey getting back.
Yeah,
so it is. But I mean, the other thing is, we're going into this game in a different situation to the way that we entered the first one. Birmingham top of the table, clear by 2 points, 2 games in hand over both yourselves and Wigan. However, it's only 5 points between yourselves and us. So it makes it really, really interesting. And I think the league overall is still incredibly hard to go out and predict in terms of who's going to finish where.
It's a 6-pointer, and I won't let anybody tell me otherwise. How can it not be? First versus third in any division is a 6-pointer.
6-pointer.
With it being that close, you win it, then you're thinking, yeah, fair. That's pulling away quite nicely with the games in hand, which obviously you got to win, but it's still a nice little buffer to have, especially over Wickham. Managers, they've got to get somebody in there. And their luck will probably run out. They keep eking these like late wins all the time, similar to us to a certain point. So I should be careful what I wish for there, really. But yeah, and like if we win it, then I think we win it. We don't look at closing the gap on Birmingham such. We're almost like, well, if we can really, really have a stab at going for that second spot, and when you're over halfway in the season, there's no reason why they shouldn't start thinking along the lines, depending on who we get in. But you got to look at Huddersfield as well, coming strong. So who knows? Who knows?
And I guess that's the other thing. So we are, 20 odd days into the transfer window. Have Wrexham bought anybody in? Do you think there are plans to strengthen as well in terms of the way things go? Will you lose people? Because I've got to say, from our league at the moment, I seem to be seeing more outs.
Yeah, I mean, we managed to get Billy Waters off the books, who was like Mullen was injured the season before last and he's hardly played. He never scored for us. Found him out on loan to his old side, Halifax. Now he's joined Oldham. Great, happy days. Good luck. Take care. So we're getting rid of a few people here and there. But there's been no incomings, and that's the big thing for us. We need an incoming. We definitely need probably a creative midfielder. We almost certainly need at least one striker, because even though we've got on paper a pool of strikers who you'd think, well, you're going to get goals from that lot. It just hasn't happened. Not really. I mean, our top scorer has now returned from a broken leg, so you'd like to think he might start on Thursday. But you have to look at. Yes, he'll be fit. He's not going to be match fit, and you've got to look at the psychological aspect, because when you come back from an injury that significant, it'll say a lot about his mental strength to see if he can really hit the ground running and make an impression. So yeah, there's been no movement. Michael Smith's been mooted from Sheffield Wednesday. He didn't play against Leeds the day, so there's a suggestion that he could be on his way here. Parky wanted him in the summer. So he may finally land in, kind of almost like an upgrade on Ollie Palmer, in the sense that, Smith's played championship level and Palmer hasn't. So, and Palmer, that might see Palmer move back down south, which is where his roots are, where his sort of family home is and stuff. So kind of suits all parties in that respect. Smith isn't a long-term plan, but Parky likes his little and large partnership. I'd kill for a fast striker. Like any fast striker will do. Ideally with a little bit of experience. But yeah, we don't have pace up front. We just don't do it, and we haven't got it. Mullin's lost the yard, at least a yard, on top of everything else. So Mo Farr, we spent like nearly 600 grand on him from West Brom, and like he's hardly had any game time. And in the time he's had, you're thinking, more shorty offers, he sold McLean down that river that when McLean got wiped out of Shrewsbury with that sort of loose pass. So yeah, it's a weird one, and you never know. You're always hoping that some of these are going to come good at some point, and but here we are, so well deep into the season now, and we've got to get past. A lot of us are now past thinking, oh, Mullen will come good, and we said on the pod that we're still confident he will get double figures. But with every game that goes by and it doesn't quite click or work of him, or he looks a little bit desperate in certain areas of the pitch at certain times, you do start to wonder. And that's not throwing shade on Paul Mullen, because I couldn't possibly do that because of what he's achieved at the club and what he's done for us. But every player has a peak. And once you hit that level, there's only one way down thereafter, and it's how long you can sustain it for at that level. So has he found his has he hit his ceiling in League One? there's starting to become a valid argument for it. That's for sure.
And I think it's also about confidence, though. I mean, when you look at the teams, and you're saying there about players scoring loads of goals, etc. But
Hi, Gemini. The football transfer window's open. How are my team's stats looking?
Well, your team definitely has a lot of star power.
Do you think we're going to have a good season?
It's going to come down to consistency and a little bit of luck on your side.
I'll let you know if we win.
I'll be keeping an eye on the scores.
Yeah, me too.
Now we're talking. Transfer to Google Pixel 9 with Gemini Live today. Sequences shortened. Gemini Live available for ages 18 plus. Internet required. Results are illustrative. Check responses for accuracy. Feature and account compatibility limitations apply.
At BetMGM, we know how to put on a show. So we don't just do offers, we do golden offers like this.
MGM Millions, our supersized jackpot where right now you could win over £21 million.
Get ready for the golden era in online casino. BetMGM, it's showtime.
Minimum 10p game stake. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
actually, from a Birmingham perspective, we've got two players who are both into double figures. Alfie May, Jay Stansfield. What we would expect. However, there's then an assortment of goals coming from the rest of the team, which I know very early doors was what you guys were experiencing as well. So it makes for a very tight game, I feel, on Thursday evening, because we're not scoring hatfuls of goals. We're creating chances, but we're not putting them away. You guys, are creating the chances, not putting them away. So I think it makes for a tight game, and I don't want to say it's going to end up as a 0-0, but it could. It's got that kind of feel about the game. But we'll come on to the predictions shortly. But I mean, differences between when we played before and now. You've gone through some of those areas, but where now are your key strengths and weaknesses? So I can say in advance we've got a midfield that's been absolutely pummeled by injuries, and can I predict at this stage what the midfield will look like going into the game? No. The only thing I can say, Williamson, he's out. So we know that he is out for at least another couple of weeks. So that's going to be a loss. But then we've got players that have come in to fill those gaps. But I can't predict the rest. Will Pape be fit? Will Iwata be fit? We don't know. Will Bielik play in midfield rather than centre half? We don't know. It's going to be one of those as it leads up to the game. The only thing I can say is you will see Alfie May, and I think you'll see Jay Stansfield. But they're the only two that honestly I could say at this stage that I think will 100%. No, actually, I'm selling one player short there. You'll see Allsop in goal because he's doing all right. But for the rest of it, it is hard to predict. And like you say, it comes off the back of an absolute hectic festive break. Yeah. Well, as many games as what we did, now we begin to feel the rough side of that with the niggly injuries that perhaps wouldn't have been around if we'd have been able to have more of a break. But what about yourselves? How do you think you'll set up on Thursday evening? How will Parky, who, I must congratulate on the length of time that he has been in charge of the team, first of all, and his record that he set the other week. But how will he set things out? What do you think they'll try and learn from the loss at Shrewsbury? And do you see any changes to the way that you played?
I mean, that team let him down badly last week. They let the club down, him down, themselves down, fans down. Forget that it was Shrewsbury, and I said this on our pod. You could have put any opposition in front of them last week, and it still would have been the same vernacular. We still would have been saying it was a disgrace. It was awful because it was shambolic, and the fact that it was Shrewsbury just magnified it that little bit more. So he will be. Look, he summoned the players in for training on Sunday, or was it Friday? Can't be extra training session. So doesn't often have to do that, but they could have no real complaints about doing so. So he will be looking for a fast start at home. try and maintain those noise levels in the ground. It's going to be a crazy atmosphere. It's going to be great. So
brilliant. Looking forward
yeah,
to it.
he want a fast start. He want a composed start. He want people to keep their heads because there will be tackles flying in.
Yeah.
It's going to get niggly. There's going to be there'll be people foreheads against foreheads, no doubt. Regardless of whether McLean plays or not, it will be somebody else. So he won't deviate from his formation, but what he will be saying is, you need to give me twice what you would normally do because of the errors you made last week, because of the lack of effort and heart and grit and determination that wasn't there last week for whatever reason. So prove to me you've got it. And 9 times out of 10, we tend not to lose back-to-back games. It's very, very rare we do. But it can happen, and if it's ever going to happen, it could very well happen on Thursday. But he will be looking for a massive, massive response. There will be changes. There has to be changes. You can't go to a relegation-haunted rival and meekly lose and expect to field the same team. Mm-hmm. There's a point where you put your trust in your players, but he's done that time and time again. But there's a point now where, like you've alluded to, when you've got a squad as big as our squads are, there's a reason for that. If you've got strength and depth, you have to use it. And anybody saying, "Oh well, I wish I thought I did all right to play," none of those players, bar maybe 1 or 2, can genuinely say, "I deserve my place this Thursday." They don't. There's a lot of places under threat there. So I think we'll see 2 or 3 easily. I wouldn't say probably more than 4, but I'd probably say 2 or 3 easily. And that is probably going to be Marriott to start, potentially. Don't know what's happened with Palmer, because Palmer wasn't classed as injured, but he wasn't even on the bench for the Shrewsbury game, which I thought was slightly odd, I think. Is that right? I can't remember now. Brain scrambled since last week. Owen O'Connell had a nightmare. He had a nightmare at Barnsley. He redeemed himself a little bit, but he's had 1 brain fart too many for me. So you've got to look at bringing Dan Scarr, and he's a bit of a menacing-looking defender, but we haven't seen a vast amount of him. But if he's training well, you've got to stick him in. He's played at championship level, so why not try him out? Put him in there. And then the midfield, we've got quite a lot of good midfield players, but I still don't quite know which combination works best, if I'm honest. Matty James is really, really Rolls Royce of a player, played at a high level, but he's an older player, and I think this game's going to be high octane. I think it's going to be fast, so we probably need George Dobson to come back in there. Ollie Rathbone's great. He's kind of undroppable at the moment, just the motor that kind of runs around everywhere, harasses, wins the ball, does the turnovers. So yeah, I think he'll be looking to rile them up. He will be doing that all week. They'll be looking at videos. They'll be looking at what went wrong. They've probably done that already. They probably looked at what went wrong and parked it and go, right, it's done. Now you've got to concentrate on what's coming up. Yeah. And I listened to a sort of Blues Twitter space the other day, and there was a lot of talk of, Wrexham are forcing this rivalry. They need to wind their neck in. We're not doing nothing. As far as I'm concerned, it's first versus third, right? Both there on merit, I feel. I think they're both there on merit.
Really agree.
And it's a very, 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 very big club with a very rich history against a club with a very rich history that aspires to be as big, And
I think that sums up, in all honesty, the 2 clubs and the way that we are at the moment. And I can honestly say that, firstly, Wrexham deserve to be where they are in the league. They deserve to be where they have been, and with their promotions that have occurred, because they've gone back to the bare basics, and you've built the bottom up, and that's what, for me, is the epitome of a decent football team. And when you look at those that have come through the divisions that have also done that, they've gone on to massive things. Man City were the first team really to experience it, in terms of they were absolutely shocking. They needed to hit a reset button. Unfortunately for them, they didn't just get 1 relegation, they got a double relegation. But then they fought themselves back through the leagues. They built the nucleus of their side. They got themselves back into the Premier League. And then they just went hell for fire on, do you know what? We're not satisfied with just being mid-table. We want to win this. And they then went on to build that squad that's going to do it. Ipswich were rock bottom, built themselves back up, got themselves back-to-back promotions and into the Premier League. There's no reason why teams can't do that all the time. And for me, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see Birmingham do it. But also, I think it's fair to say that a team in the league and their position is there on merit. It's not just a fluke, you know. They've got to be there. They've got to be decent enough to fight through, which this league is. It's hard to call. People thought Birmingham would run away with it. They haven't.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Is people were saying you should have been 10, 15, 20 points clear, whatever. I look at it in a different way, thinking, well, it's competitive. It is a competitive division. It's a really tough division if you look at it on paper, the teams that are in it. I'm just delighted. I look at the league and go, well, we're 10 or 11 points clear of Stockport. So that means we're 10 or 11 clear of the last playoff place, which barring a complete mad disaster, we should be good for.
You should be there.
Give or take. So
yeah.
But, worst case scenario, we lose 15 or whatever. I have the worst form ever.
Hi, Gemini. The football transfer window's open. How are my team's stats looking?
Well, your team definitely has a lot of star power.
Do you think we're going to have a good season?
It's going to come down to consistency and a little bit of luck on your side.
I'll let you know if we win.
I'll be keeping an eye on the scores.
Yeah, me too.
Now we're talking. Transfer to Google Pixel 9 with Gemini Live today. Sequences shortened. Gemini Live available for ages 18+. Internet required. Results are illustrative. Check responses for accuracy. Feature and account compatibility limitations apply.
Everybody go, well, that was a right drop-off, wasn't it? We've not experienced that since the takeover. No, but it will happen. And if it doesn't happen this season and we somehow do manage to get in the championship, we will almost certainly be on various hidings week in, week out, because we're not quite prepared for it just yet. And that's the only worry I've got. So it's kind of a win-win. If we do get it and it's within our grasp, then you do a massive, massive change for the summer. But if we don't do it, then we build and we try again. But we might not be in this position this time next year. So you've got to seize the moment.
You've got to take that opportunity. You've got to take the ball by the horns, and you've got to say, do you know what? We're in with a chance. And whilst we're in with a chance, we've got to continue to go with it. And that's what I'll say to any team in any position, and we're still the same. The way I still see it is we've still got half a season to go, so a lot can happen in these next few games.
Yeah, 100%.
But we're going to Thursday evening then. And as I did before, I'm going to ask the question, what does your heart say and what does your head say the result will be?
What did I say the other day? I think my head says we'll lose. My heart says we'll draw. Just because I still think we're going through a kind of weird moment where we're trying to find ourselves again. Where we've been eking out these wins with Fletcher coming on and scoring at the death, which has been great for high drama and everything else. But we haven't played stupendously well at home for a while, which concerns me. But then, by the same token, you could flip that and go, well, it's about time we did play well at home. Yeah. And it could be a case of we'll play really well and still not win. But then sometimes some large elements of fan bases really look for performance as opposed to result. So I think either way, if we put in a shift, it can't be any worse than last week, surely. People will go away from that game reasonably happy. But I think a draw would not be a massive disheartening result for us. That said, when I watched you kind of stumble to put an Exeter away, I was like, why haven't they put this game to bed with even with 15 minutes added time? I was like, I couldn't really quite fathom why, So there is capacity, but like I said, I think I said 2 each, so I'm gonna have to stick with my 2 each, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing.
And I've got to say, I'm along the same wavelength really in terms of where I think the result will be, because I want to get the 3 points. I want to extend that lead that's there. Any team and any fan is going to be thinking the same thing coming into the game. However, it's going to be tough. My heart says that I think we will get a draw. I actually think it'll be a 1-1. I think it'll be a really open, good game with a 1-1. But I really want to get the 2-1, a really 2-1 win. We've got to be selfish at times, really, and I guess that's the position we're all in when it comes to being fans.
Yeah. I'm sure the last time we played Birmingham at home in a league game was 1 each. I'm sure it was.
Well, the one thing I will say is, if I was a betting man, which I'm not, but if I was a betting man, I'd definitely have money on McLean getting booked if he's playing. But the bookies would probably give you the shortest possible odds on that anyhow. But
100%.
It's going to be a great night. We've got a sellout away support again. As you mentioned already, it's going to be a raucous atmosphere with the home fans, and it's going to be one that hopefully is as good as the first one on the television, and actually is another credit to the first division of the EFL, and bring it on.
It was 1 each, by the way. My mind served me correct. 1 each. October the 1st, 1994. Steve Claridge for Blues.
Good old Clegg.
Yeah, so it's been a while. It's been a mere 20 years, give or take.
It's weird when you say that now, isn't it? You know what I mean? It is proper weird.
I'm just looking at results now. Take away the FA Cup one. I mean, I can't. When was the last time we beat you in the league? We beat you in the league when I was about 7 months old in 79. So it's been a while. I'll be honest, it's been a while. But you know what? It's one of those, isn't it? You're striving to go back to where you kind of feel you belong and push on, and we're striving to keep growing. Really, and that's all we can do. We're not getting carried away, despite what people think. Getting too big for your boots. Like, just happy to be here. Just happy to be pissing people off at the moment, right at the table. Yeah,
enjoying it. Well, on that front, may the best team win on Thursday evening. Let's hope it is a great game, supported raucously by both sets of fans. That's enjoyable, and as I say, a credit to Division 1. Tim, thank you very much again for joining us on the away end. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you across the 2 games. I hope moving forwards that we have more opportunities in the Championship and not in Division 1. And here's to a great one. And I'll sign off as always by saying, keep right on. Thank you.
Cheers, Craig. All the best.
Hi, Gemini. The football transfer window's open. How are my team's stats looking?
Well, your team definitely has a lot of star power.
Do you think we're going to have a good season?
It's going to come down to consistency and a little bit of luck on your side.
I'll let you know if we win.
I'll be keeping an eye on the scores.
Yeah, me too.
Now we're talking. Transfer to Google Pixel 9 with Gemini Live today. Sequences shortened. Gemini Live available for ages 18+. Internet required. Results are illustrative. Check responses for accuracy. Feature and account compatibility limitations apply.
Yo, UK! At BetMGM, we give our players sports betting entertainment like nobody's business. Football, horse racing, darts, boxing, tennis, golf, NFL, NBA. You name it, we got it. Offers? You know it. Bet £10 and get £40 in free bets. BetMGM, it's showtime.
New customers only. Exclusions apply. 18+. Please gamble responsibly.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.